Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you feel it's a one-take relationship? You're the person that gives all your time, you give all your energy, you give your advice, your wisdom, a listening ear, but it never ever feels like the other person is reciprocating that energy that you're giving towards them. This is because fundamentally you have made it very, very easy for them to access your time, and people do not value that which they can access. They value which that they cannot access. This is why people are so fascinated with obtaining luxury items. It's not the fact that this item is going to enhance their life in one way or the other, but a lot of the time it's because this thing is very scarce. It's out of their reach, and whenever somebody feels like something's out of their reach, it makes it more in demand. See, relationships and the world and the economy, it pretty much works off of a meritocracy. So people want to feel like they've earned something. They want to feel like they've had to fight their way into getting that thing there. And when it comes to your time, this is no different. If people feel like that they can access that time very, very easy, then it's very difficult for them to access it. So I mentioned earlier, this is a 3-part video series where I essentially talk to you guys about why people don't value your time, how you can begin to create value in your life so that people treat you more like a celebrity or somebody of high value. And in this video, I'm also going to be giving you something else very practical, which was life-changing for me. So I want to take you guys back to the school days, because I always typically go back in history in terms of our age, because this always sort of shows you the structures that I speak about have always been with us historically, since birth. Now, in the education system, if you remember, every single lesson you had a structure. Whether that was 8:30, you would be on the playground. 9 o'clock, you're in your first lesson. 9 till 10, that time is blocked basically for the first subject that you're studying. If Monday, maybe that's English. Maybe it's science, maybe it's maths, whatever it is. After that, then, of course, there will be the next lesson. Then eventually there will be a break. 10, 15 minutes. Then there'll be another lesson, then there'll be a lunch, then there'll be another lesson, then it's home time. But everything was structured to a point that you knew what the time of the day was allocated towards. Now, when it comes to your value, one of the things I mentioned in my very first video is that, of course, it's very easy to access your time. And what happens is after we leave the education system, we no longer have a structure apart from the workplace that we set in our personal lives to in order to get things done. We don't allocate time to different activities that we want to personally go down. See, if you got a project you're working on or your fitness, very few people actually block that piece of time into their calendar every single day. It takes them a little while for them to eventually do that. Eventually they do build habits like going to the gym at a certain time after work consistently over the week a number of times. But I want to make you guys understand, if you want to be the sort of person that's valued, that has a value for his time, you need to start valuing your time first. You can't be asking people to value your time, to value who you are, if you don't even value your own time. See, you make all the time in the world to time block your work schedule because you know you're obligated to do that because you're getting a paycheck. But these dreams that you're working on, the personal projects that you're working on, you don't actually take time to time block those into your schedule. See, that's a problem. That's fundamentally you not valuing your own time. So in order for you to start taking your life a little bit more seriously, and in order to stop focusing on all these people who you're giving energy to and they're not reciprocating it back, you need to start giving energy back into your own life. I want you to think of the things that you currently want to work on moving forward, getting done in the future. These can be personal projects you're working on, similar to how I'm creating this YouTube page, personal brand. Or maybe it's a personal endeavor, like you want to start your fitness journey. Maybe there's a particular language you want to learn. Maybe you haven't been spending a lot of time with family and now you want to allocate some personal time towards your family who you sort of lose track of because of all the things that's currently in your life that's taking up your time. And I want you to start thinking of little activities that you can time block into your day that will be allocated and given and will be given energy to those activities. So for example, if you're someone trying to get into shape, it goes without saying, all you need to do is time block a time in the day that you're going to be consistent with going to the gym. If you're very inconsistent, maybe you want to start with 1 day a week for 1 hour, 30 minutes even, if you have to. On a Monday, 5:30 after work, I'm going to the gym for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to head home straight after that. Make sure it's something you stay consistent on, and then as you get better at this, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to also add in more things into your time schedule. And slowly as you begin to fill up your calendar, what's going to happen is you're going to realize you don't have all the time in the world to be allocating to these people that you were constantly messaging or listening to when they were reaching out to you. See, I've been a victim of the same circumstance as you guys, where you're constantly the listening ear to people's problems. You're always supporting them, and you believe that when you're doing this, this is building equity in the relationship. This is scoring you brownie points, if you want to say that. And that later on down the line, when you want to ask for a favor, they're going to also look out for you in the same way you looked out for them. But typically when you give someone your time, your energy, or the listening ear, always there for them when they're low, they don't necessarily see it as that. Some people do, but very few do. Most times they just use you as somebody who, when they're down and out and they don't have anybody to speak to, they can call up and vent to. The relationship you build with them is very transactional, and they're the ones gaining from this transaction and you're losing out. But once you begin to time block activities that go towards working on yourself, self-improvement, the identity change that I speak about all the time in my videos, actually developing your character, your personality, shaping it into your future self, the version of you which you see as the best possible version of yourself. I call it the alter ego, because at first you have to tap into characteristics you don't have in order to give yourself permission to behave like this person. A lot of the times when it comes to becoming our best version of ourselves, it's not an external battle. You're not being held back by money. You're pretty much being held back by your internal beliefs. When you begin to time block activities that you're working on personally and delegating time to those activities, the first guilty thought you're going to have is, well, I feel bad. I'm ignoring this person. Now I feel like I'm being a bad friend. But really what you're doing is you're transcending into the sort of person you know other people are going to value. See, I always say to people, don't listen to the words they say. Look at their behaviors and the people that they spend the most time with and the energy they give towards. So if there's somebody who the personal friends in their life gets all their time, their energy, and pretty much people who they don't usually see, they don't give any energy towards, then this person's probably going to be somebody that's going to value your friendship. But if you look at people's behaviors, they're usually trying to reach out to people who they don't necessarily have access to. They're eager to meet these people who don't usually message them. This goes for relationships, and this goes for, when I say relationships, it goes for relationships which are romantic, but also relationships you have with friendships, with family. You can sometimes see this as the case. You ever had it where you've had a significant other, you've had them for a long period of time, you sort of know all their flaws, their strengths, their weaknesses, everything about them. All of a sudden you've got wandering eye, and you're wondering, what would it be like dating if you were single again? Because you're looking at the people that you don't have access to, and you're valuing them over the person in your life. So this is a trait that we all have. Whether you're a man or a woman, if you're actually truly honest with yourself, if you look into your life and your behaviors, there's been times when you valued people who you can't necessarily get access to, but not value the people closest to you. Maybe you were looking for the approval of somebody in the workplace who could help you get a promotion. During this time that you were heavily focused on your work, you weren't necessarily spending time with your family. You were neglecting them. Maybe you're the example of having a significant other. You're looking at social media and you're looking at all these other options that are potentially out there, and you're creating these hypothetical scenarios in your head where maybe they would be a better suit for you, this person that you see online. See, we've all been guilty of it. So what I always say to people is you should never be angry at human nature. You just need to understand it. Understand that the laws of human nature, which is a great book by Robert Greene, is applicable in all walks of life. Time blocking personal projects into your life, I recommend, if you want to do this in a practical way, the first thing you want to do is use an app like Google Calendar. This is what I use personally. I pick a date, for example, the next day. I started off with just doing 1 day at a time. And I will time block, for example, every single hour of that day up until the point I sleep with something. Now, sometimes the activity I book, let's say I do, for example, my first activity in the morning is a prayer and meditate. 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then maybe the next activity is go to the gym. If that week I'm going to the gym first thing in the morning. Come home, I'll even schedule in things like having a shower, making breakfast, making a cup of coffee. Every little thing is detailed. What the point is you want to get into the habit of time blocking your day. This is how you get rid of leeches who are trying to suck up your time. You literally have something to do every single hour. And to be honest with you, at first, you're not going to follow it to a T. Some of you will. Some of you have already built the discipline in order to sort of follow it to a T, but most of you aren't. But what's going to happen is you're going to most likely do one or two things on that schedule which you plan to do effectively, if you're serious. Maybe you went to the gym, you had planned it for 5:30, but you ended up going at 7 to 8 o'clock. Because every single time you looked at that calendar, you thought to yourself, wow, I haven't actually done the thing that I promised myself I'd do. And what it also does is it gets you to start looking at your time and actually telling the truth about where your time is being allocated. Because you have to be honest when you're looking at your schedule and you're asking yourself, did I actually do everything on this list today? It also helps you with tracking your progress, because any single time that you want to go back on the calendar and see what you done the last previous week or two, you actually have a history of the time blocks that you had in your schedule that day. And you can ask yourself, did I get it done that day? And look on your notes. I always say journaling isn't actually meant for you to just write random emotions. It's meant for you to evaluate your progress throughout that day or week or month or year. Make yourself mini goals. And by doing these mini goals, what I say is time block them into your day. This is how you actually get them done. And every single morning, instead of looking at Instagram or social media, what you need to do is you need to look at these. You need to look at the calendar and ask yourself, okay, what have I got to do today? I recommend you use some sort of social media blocking app so that you can start blocking yourself from using these social media apps. This is how you become the sort of person that's not easy to access, and you're not doing it as a facade anymore. You're not pretending. See, what most people do is they pretend they're busy. They act as if they are busy when they're not actually doing anything. They may be sat at home watching Netflix. When you begin to time block activities, even the small ones, what you're doing now is you've actually got an activity you're working on during that hour. Now, this only works really if you have a personal project, because otherwise you're just time blocking your day with useless activities which aren't moving you forward. I recommend doing things like reflections in your time schedule if you don't really know what to start on, apart from like maybe things like physical fitness, going for a walk, clearing your mind. There's no harm in sort of working on your mindset. This is what I do in my newsletter. I help you guys with profound mindset shifts that change my life. Give you frameworks to take on board, which you can take away. I'm going to leave a link in the bio to my newsletter, the next chapter. You can time block that into your day. You can actually read a newsletter where it's telling you an idea, and you can start asking yourself, how can I begin to implement this into my life? Spend some time contemplating. Not every single day on the internet watching stuff that's just rotting your brain, giving you dopamine spikes. Focus on actually developing yourself. See, the life you want isn't a result of what you do, but who you become. In this world, you need the creativity of a Michael Jackson, but the strategic mind of a Michael Corleone. You need to plan your life the way the mafia plans a hit. Every single detail needs to be accounted for. You need to dream like an artist, huge. No limitations on what you believe you can achieve, but you need to move like a mastermind. You need to be militant with it. And time blocking is one of the easiest ways to begin to become militant with your time. When you block every single hour, what you're doing now is that you can no longer lie to yourself. Every time you fail to do something, don't take it personal, move it into the next day's calendar and try to get that thing done as well. Like I said, at first it might be just one activity you did in the day, but at least now you're moving forward. You're not just walking through the days blindly. So I'm gonna leave that there, guys. That's the 3-part video series on creating value. My first video, I wanted to introduce the concept. People value that which they do not have access to. Second video, I gave you examples of how celebrities are really valued in society and luxury brands. Gave you some steps, frameworks which you can take on board and you can start implementing into your life so that you can also be treated similar to these people. And this video was the key ingredient, time blocking. Game changer. See, there's a reason your job and the workplace, the education system, there's a reason they time block every activity for the day. It's because they understand if human beings do not have something that's blocking their time, that they are delegating their focus and attention to, then it's easy for them to stagnate, to get diverted into another direction. Time block your days, guys. Leave a comment on what you got from this video or which video was your favorite out of the 3. I didn't do these as long as some of my previous videos because I wanted to try a different approach, give you guys a concept, break it down through 3 points. Like, comment, share and subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletter as well. My name's Tino. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's go.